there, fellow meeples. Welcome to another episode of Unqualified Experts, where we talk all things gaming and nerddom. I'm your host, Braden Gardner.
Shane Gayton, a.k.a. Corrupt Overlord.
And today we're going to be talking about our top 5 picks for uncommon magic items in 5th edition D&D.
Nice.
Pretty solid. I mean, I know that a lot of the cool magic items are rare and hard to get and campaign breaking, but there are a lot of unsung heroes that end up in the gear section of our character sheets that often go unsung and underappreciated. So we're going to take some time today to go over the best ones that you should be considering if you haven't already gotten them, the ones that maybe you should appreciate a little more if you haven't broken them out in a while.
And some just to cause trouble.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It's a specialty.
Yeah, I'm shocked. Alright, well, I'll go ahead and get started here. My number 5 is one that I honestly tried really, really hard not to put on my list. But there's just no getting around how useful having one of these is, and there's not any way to deny that people go out of their way to find these as quickly as possible in every campaign. My number 5 is Bag of Holding. So for those who aren't familiar with this magic item somehow, this bag has an interior space considerably larger than its outside dimensions, roughly 2 feet in diameter at the mouth and 4 feet deep. The bag can hold up to 500 pounds of material, not exceeding a volume of 64 cubic feet, and the bag always weighs 15 pounds regardless of its contents. Retrieving an item from the bag requires an action. And of course, if you overload, pierce, tear the bag, it's going to basically destroy the bag, scatter its contents to the astral plane.
You lose it all.
You lose it all. Ditto if you try to put an extra dimensional space like the Bag of Holding in another extra dimensional space like another Bag of Holding, or the Herod's Handy Haversack. Just destroys both items, kicks all your contents to the astral plane.
The D&D solution of quantum physics, destroy it all.
Pretty much.
Bag of Holding, eh?
Yeah, I mean...
Did you want more fighter with your fighter? Gonna play a human next character?
I mean...
Sun causes light during the day?
I do like the complimentary belly rub that you get for taking the class.
Well, since, yeah. Since Braden never tires of being wrong, I'm going to also give you a list that you will find less obvious.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, you need to be able to haul loot.
You were so close. You were so close. I mean, I was with you at bag of, and then you went holding, when clearly the correct answer was bag of tricks. You even have 3 options: gray, rust, or tan. And of course, with our group, you always have to go tan, because after 4 times of rolling a baboon and a tiger, here is what a baboon riding a tiger sounds like. Callahan?
Woo! 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 Woo!
It's a great sound. But with these, I love them. They're bags that look completely empty. You can throw up to 3 animals out of each one. And some of these are not pushovers if you're low level. You can get bears. That's actually how me and Brownie met. You can get a tiger, baboon, an axe beak for some reason. Shouldn't be that tough, but that bird does some work every time it shows up. And man, if you want to sow chaos, 3 members of your party throwing out 3 each, you suddenly have a bar fight with bears, tigers, apes, and possibly a giant badger. You want a distraction? A bag of tricks will get you a distraction. Plus, sometimes flanking bonuses.
And I suppose since the critters are friendly to you, you could always enlist their help in hauling loot out as well. It's not as self-contained as a Bag of Holding, but I can respect that.
It's easier to clear out a dungeon when you have 3 bears in your caravan for the next 24 hours.
Yeah, that's fair, and I've definitely seen Bags of Tricks do work. It was one of the ones that I had considered putting on my list, but what can I say? I'm a sucker for the classics.
If anything, it's just one of those fun items. You can bring so much just flavor to any campaign. Mince a little bit of chaos, you're kind of bored in a conventional bar scene, there's a tiger. Let's see how people react.
Poorly, I assume.
I mean, how often have you been in a campaign where your fighter got to suplex a bear through a table?
More often than I ever expected to be able to claim.
Bag of tricks. So that's my number 5.
That's a solid pick, and I have to respect that. I've seen those do entirely too much work, even at mid to high level campaigns. But if you want to be able to get from point A to point B, maybe you want to go in and steal something, or maybe your caster just can't spare the spell slot to help you get airborne.
Greedy casters.
Right, just rationing those spell slots like the jerks they are. I've never done anything like that before.
No, never.
Never once.
Yep.
I've talked about how important having a Z-axis is already in another video, so I'm not going to wax poetic about it this time. But if you don't have easy access to flight, a Broom of Flying will get the job done just as efficiently as a fly spell or any of the other myriad flying items that you can get access to at higher rarities.
Yeah, that is a good option. I have seen a lot of people do good work with that. When you get a heavy armor cleric who can fly with a broom, that's not something to discount. Talk to your DM, because some of them, like me, will absolutely make a non-dexterous character roll dexterity the first few times. Which, actually, it's fair. It is a fair argument from my point of view.
It's not unreasonable if you don't take precautions. I'm honestly impressed by how much this actually can do for you, because in addition to being able to give you a fly speed of 50 feet, which is pretty excellent, reduced to 30 if you're a chonker carrying 200 pounds of weight or more.
Sorry, Goliath.
Yeah, it's a rough gig, but the other bit that you get with it is there is a weight limit of 400 pounds, so if you are prone to carrying everything, including the kitchen sink, this is not for you. But the other cool thing that it does is you can actually use command words to send it where it needs to go. So even if you're not on the broom, as long as you're within a mile of it, it can be the perfect getaway vehicle. It can be something that you use to...
Prank knock the mayor?
You could. Or if you just really, really loved Fantasia, you can create your own totally not copyrighted Disney experience.
Note, if you split it with an axe, the DM will probably not give you 2 flying brooms in most cases.
Probably not, although the rule of cool has done a lot of good for a lot of people.
Fair enough. See, I just had to criticize one pick and your list got much better. I'm useful.
Yes, let's go with that. So what's your number 4 pick, wise guy?
Way overlooked all the time. Robe of useful items. Everyone's always looking at the wizard robes, the mage robes. They're looking for those high-level ones that, let's face it, a DM is not giving you even a shot at these until you're hitting mid-level. But level 1 or 2, you can absolutely get a robe of useful items. I mean, you need a mule, a pit, maybe you want a rowboat to get across that river. I mean, there's all kinds of useful stuff. A rope, a portable ram. You can roll for all kinds of stuff. I think one of them was a door that you can place and then lock behind you. I mean, you need a getaway, suddenly putting a door into a wall and locking it behind you is a pretty good way to go. But most crucial of all, you have that all-important ladder which will help you climb up to the 3rd story of an unguarded building while everyone else is distracted in town.
You could do that with the Broom of Flying, though, and you don't have to leave any evidence behind.
Yeah, but if you have a broom, some people might call you a witch. If you're just wearing a robe, you're just wearing a robe. No one expects you to pull an 18-foot ladder out. That's why you make a distraction.
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
Versatility.
Invisibility is...
Yeah, and a ladder does not disappear with this dispels bit of dispel. Or anti-magic field.
True.
Just climb out of it.
The robe almost made my list too, but it almost made it for an entirely different reason. If you have a DM who is not careful. The Robe of Useful Items can single-handedly be an economy breaker.
Yeah, yup.
Using the suggested prices for uncommon items in the Dungeon Master Guide.
And some of the things you could roll were simply jewels and straight out gold. So depending on what you roll, if he gives you a full robe, if he makes you roll for it, no matter what, you're going to have things that are useful. If anything, when you're an early level character and the gold actually matters and every gold piece matters, trust me, you don't want to find out what the guide says a rowboat costs if you need to get across that swamp.
You really don't.
Hint, you're putting off that new armor for 3 levels. So, get a robe of useful items. It is very appropriately named.
Plus, so many puppies.
So many puppies. Whole herds of dogs that your gnome warlock can ride through town. It's
true. That's a pretty solid pick. I have to give props where they're due there.
Mid-list, what do we got?
As a good pick, I have to say that this one is probably the most important pick for social situations on my list anyway. It doesn't take an attunement slot, which is also nice, especially if you don't have a ritual caster who can take care of this for you on a consistent basis. My number 3 pick is the Helm of Comprehending Languages.
I got no smart-ass answer. That's a good pick.
I mean, it does what it says on the tin. You can basically cast the Comprehend Languages skill, or spell, the first level spell, at will, which allows you to understand the literal meaning of anything that is spoken, and as long as you can touch the script or carved text of what you're reading, you can read anything that's been written too. Doesn't let you speak it. You gotta pay for a scroll of tongues for that privilege, but even just being able to convey to your party when a situation is about to go sideways can save you just a ton of grief.
And admittedly, I'm one of those DMs who has used stuff like less common languages as a way to throw off a party. And if you have the helm, it doesn't matter if the rocks are talking to you now because the group doesn't have a druid. You have someone who understands the elemental. And so you take that troublesome, you take that arrow out of the DM's quiver, which is not a bad way to go with that item. And that's the definition of a utility item. Are you speaking a language? Yup, I can understand.
That's the tweet.
Yup, pretty much. Alrighty.
Well, what have you got for number 3?
Decanter of Endless Water.
Ooh, good one.
So many good uses for this, and admittedly, I wish half the ideas I've heard with it were ones I thought of. But, obviously, life-saving in a desert takes care of that issue right there.
For sure.
Beyond that, you have enough clerics, that can be a vampire-killing weapon as they just keep on blessing and you just keep on pouring the water into that cave, or vampire fortress in one case. It is one of those where just always having water on hand can be so useful. It can help with the getaway, it can help wash out tracks behind you, it provides water for you or the party, and of course the most crucial part is it is a critical part of the getaway plan for the upcoming heist.
To do what now?
Don't worry about it.
Alright. And I don't have a ton to add on the Decanter of Endless Water. It's super useful. You can adjust how much water comes out, so you can have it come out as a nice little stream where you get a gallon of water.
Or a geyser.
Or you can get a geyser that shoots out 30 gallons of water in the span of a few seconds and can shove objects away from you. Or if you just really need to cause a flood, this'll do it in a pinch in small spaces.
Yep. It's one of those where you think it'll be a little bit useful in the right situations, and even if none of those come up, you always find a reason to use it.
It's definitely been known to keep an uppity tabaxi or two in their place. Ask me how, I know.
Yep.
All right, well that's a pretty good pick. I respect that. It was also on my short list.
Getting to the top here now.
Yeah, now we're getting to the real good stuff, and I've got to say, the number of creative uses for my number 2 is largely limited by your imagination. I don't think I've met a magic item that is as versatile as this one, period. And the number of times that one of these, or even 2 or 3 of these, have been utilized to basically turn a catastrophe into something that the party walks away from is staggering, not only in 5th edition, but these have been around for a long, long time and have been insanely useful tools across multiple systems. Welcome to the immovable rod.
Classic.
Basically, you have this innocuous looking rod, you click a button, and suddenly you're going to need a strength 30 check to even do anything with this rod, period. It also has the ability to basically sustain up to 8,000 pounds of weight. So if you need to prop something up, brace something that shouldn't move, this usually has your back, and if it doesn't, just use another one.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've seen dexterous characters who use it to like click, do a flip, unclick it, click it again, and literally climb their way up a cliff without having to do that. My favorite was the escaped kidnapping. Gets to the top of a carriage, jumps, just clicks it. Suddenly your rogue is hiding in the trees as the carriage just keeps on going. I mean, wedge it behind a door. They are not busting that thing open. It is, even at high levels, they are probably not busting that door open. It's useful every single campaign. There's a reason veteran players are looking for it right from the beginning. Veteran players assume there's always going to be bags of holding, so you just know you're going to run into them for good reason. But they're always looking for the immovable rod as soon as they get a chance.
Absolutely, and you can do some cool stuff the more of these you get. 2 of these can basically be a ladder, 3 if your character's a little clumsier. You can set yourself up with the assistance of a broom of flying or something else to basically create your own perch and just rain ranged attacks down on your enemies. You can set it as a point where you can hook a rope to get into treacherous areas. There's just so much you can do with one of these.
You can put them about 7 feet high in the middle of a road to see how observant the pursuing cavalry are. That was also a good session.
I mean, accurate.
They did not see it.
My favorite example of something you could do with it after some time using Google and just kind of seeing what other creative ideas were in place was to basically set this up on a ship, and just as the ship sails, just it tears itself apart.
That is...
I'm a little jealous I didn't think
Yeah,
of that
I'm
idea
going to
myself.
have to write that one down. That's going to have to show up in a future campaign. Well, that's a good one, and that's useful. But it's not quite as necessary as the next one on my list, which of course will be Gloves of Thievery, which are a great item with or without a rogue in the party. Basically, you get a +5 bonus to dex and sleight of hand checks, as well as checks to pick any type of lock. So when you want to get into places you're not supposed to get into, or these are your things. Even better, they do not take an attunement slot. They're invisible to sight. And I love the fact that you have these gloves that help you pick locks, and nobody can see them. Unless someone's using true sight, in which case your party's acting really weird to get them to look at you that way, to waste that level of spell on it. And so the biggest reason for the Gloves of Thievery, aside from the obvious of getting into chess, they are the perfect tool. So while the distraction's going on, that is when you take your party into the hidden fortress that your DM Braden didn't want you to know about. because that is the location of the artifact that we are going to spend the next 6 sessions chasing after. But instead of going through all those plans, we're just going to ruin his plans by stealing it right off the bat.
Really?
And that +5 lockpick, perfect. You know why. You killed my bard before Oktoberfest. Who kills a bard before Oktoberfest? So we're stealing your artifact.
Oh.
We're stealing your artifact.
Okay.
Throw away that session planning. Gloves of thievery.
Well, this escalated quickly.
We don't need a rogue to get a hold of it.
And you know what your bard did.
You don't kill a bard before Oktoberfest. I feel like that should be an unwritten rule.
There's only so far you can stretch the rule of cool.
So, yeah. Point is, not only will the gloves allow you to pick a lock, even without your rogue, Ranger will have to step in with his dex, or whoever you have in your party, or Orc Barbarian if you're in a really weird Pathfinder campaign, but that's a story for a different time. But aside from that, you get to be part of every man's fantasy, being part of a heist, and ruining your DM's plans, just bonus.
Alright. So, heists and session ruining aside, there is an item that I feel is above everything that's been mentioned on either of our lists to this point as far as uncommon magic items. Much like the rest of, actually both our picks at this point, it doesn't take an attunement slot.
Mm-hmm.
It can allow you to survive single-handedly with no other resources.
That's usually a good thing.
It begrudgingly can be of assistance with heists.
Very much important for the moment.
It can be a key diplomatic tool. Or it can just bail you out of weird situations. My number one pick for the most useful uncommon magic item in 5th edition D&D is the alchemy jug.
Yeah.
And I'm actually going to have to pull the information from this one from page 150 of the Dungeon Master's Guide because it has a lot of information. I will kind of go through the gist of it fairly quickly. Basically, you have a ceramic jug that weighs 12 pounds and sounds like it's got liquid in it, whether it's full or empty. And then once a day, you can use an action and name one of the liquids from the table in the book to cause the jug to produce the chosen liquid up to a certain quantity. And then once you've done that, it isn't able to do this again until the next day. You can get up to 8 ounces of acid, half an ounce of basic poison, 4 gallons of beer, a gallon of honey, 2 gallons of mayonnaise for some reason, a quart of oil, 2 gallons of vinegar, 8 gallons of fresh water, 12 gallons of salt water, if you really just need to take care of those fish with special needs, or a gallon of wine if you need something fancier than beer to get the dignitaries more on your side.
Yeah, I love the versatility, and I love the fact that, unlike a lot of these where you have to roll and kind of guess, you actually get to pick what you're looking for with that, and that makes that item so much more effective. I'll say in our campaigns, that seems to be the item we are often very willing as DMs to add a different type of liquid or to basically home rule it. Like if you want something, I know in my first campaign you made one that was all types of alcohol because my character was a drunk. Didn't start out that way, but you know, stuff happens.
These things happen.
And so we literally had that alchemy jug with 12 different types of alcohol for every occasion. And it's a nice bit of flavor you can add in, or maybe you obviously have this item that produces all these different liquids. It's not out of question to swap out one for another. And I think that makes it interesting both as it's written, but also as a home rule candidate.
For sure. A creative player or DM can easily tailor these to the cultural tastes and needs of pretty much any area of the world of your campaign. I like all the options that are here, except maybe the mayonnaise. That one's just weird.
Pops up in every campaign for some reason, too.
Yeah, it's weird. But you can tailor these pretty much however you'd like with all sorts of different types of liquid, different quantities, and you might be surprised how helpful these end up being in a pinch.
Yeah. Well, that's a good top choice. So you can't argue with a good alchemy jug.
You really can't.
I mean, especially when you consider it's only 12 pounds compared to everything you can get out of it over a campaign. So finally, for ours, what's the most important part of the heist? The getaway. Because it doesn't matter if you have the artifact if the entire town's militia is surrounding you, because a distraction can only hold out for so long. Draw a top item, and stick with me on this one, Cloak of the Manta Ray.
Okay. I like the Cloak of the Manta Ray. It's the best of the items at what it does. But go ahead and share what it does for the rest of the people who are watching.
I mean, it's a cloak. You straight up get to breathe underwater, which you can get scrolls, spells, and rings for. You get to swim faster than you can actually move, including the monk at lower levels, because your swim speed is 50 feet, I believe. It may be 60, I think it's 50. And you get both of these from the same cloak that does not take an attunement slot, which is just amazing. And aside from being in obvious places like rivers or lakes, you have a heist. You're in the castle. You're using your decanter of endless water to flood it, because who in a continental city miles from even the nearest river is going to have rings of water breathing? I'll answer that. No one is going to. So when they open that door and the whole fortress just pours out water, you're good. You can breathe, you can swim, you can fully function underwater as you pick the lock to the safe. And then, while everyone is super, super confused about what the hell is going on, you can leave town. Because here is a rule. If you're going to pull off the type of thing that screws up your DM's well-laid plans for several sessions, it better be really, really good. So they'll at least give you a chance to roll it.
Yeah.
Riding out the water.
That is actually a
fortress
pretty good mental image.
Yep. And if you don't make a clean getaway, you're soaked just like everyone else. You fit right in. The confused crowd.
Inaccurate.
And then once you're out of the heist, I mean, you have an item that does two things extremely well. And as everyone knows who's played D&D, a party's biggest danger is water. And that just takes care of it.
Yeah, it does. And it's interesting to me because there are a ton of uncommon items that give you pieces of this ability. Like, there's the Ring of Swimming, there's
the Ring of Water Breathing.
There's the cap that basically creates a bubble of air around your head. There's just a ton of different ways to deal with water, and this one somehow is the best one.
Because it just combines them.
It just combines all of them together.
Somehow, and this does actually surprise me, none of the items I've mentioned require attunement, including the Cloak of the Manta Ray. So you can have every single one of these items on both our lists, and you still have your 3 attunement slots open.
Which is a pretty big deal. Attunement slots are at a premium at all times in campaigns, so having a variety of different tools available that don't use them is worth its weight in gold in and of itself.
Exactly. And so, quick rundown of my list. Bag of Tricks. I prefer the tan, but all 3 of them are good. Robe of Useful Items. Decanter of Endless Water. Gloves of Thievery. And Cloak of the Manta Ray.
And then my list, I've got the Bag of Holding, the Broom of Flying, the Helm of Comprehending Languages, the Immovable Rod, and the Alchemy Jug.
Which shows you can create a pretty potent low to mid-level character, even if your DM is stingy on the rare magic items. And so, fellow meeples, how did we do? What do you guys think about these items? Do you like to min-max? Do you like to find stuff that sows absolute chaos? I think you can tell on which side we both tend to go. Do you tend to replace a character that your party doesn't have, like that missing rogue? Let us know in the comments of the video. How do you like to set up your uncommon items? Which ones do you think we should have put up on the list? What do you think the chances are of the heist working out?
They're not good.
They're better than he thinks. So let us know. Please like and subscribe the video. And thank you for all your support. We look forward to bringing more of these your way. Let us know in the comments. We want to hear those D&D stories. So until next time, have a good one, meeples. If you like what you just saw, please support us by hitting that like button and subscribing to our channel for more great gaming content.